What NSFW things must have happened at Hogwarts that we don't see? With the newfound knowledge that if you were to stick just your head in the fireplace and travel via Flu network, just your head would show up in the fireplace of your destination. There had to be one kid to at least consider sticking their DCK in there. Throw the powder. Green flames. Say the place. The people in said place turn to look at who's shown up in the fireplace. No person. Just DCK. Surprise fireplace DCK. How many DCKs and boobs do you think Madame Pomfrey has had to shrink down after poorly performed engorgement charms? PRN mags would have moving pictures. Everything that happened under the invisibility cloak stays under the invisibility cloak. Boys using the Engorgio spell. Girls using the Engorgio spell. You're teaching kids who are going through puberty how to bend the laws of nature. God knows how many magically mangled penises went to the nurse's office. Mr. Filch used to torture kids. Apparently. Magic-induced orgasms. Maximo Orgsmo. A huge industry would be Wizard Pia and Star selling their hair and polyjuice potions. Dongus Alongus. I'm sure the Engorgio charm got used quite a bit. Nude paintings would be quite different, just walking down the corridor hearing a strange sound, so you go to investigate and boom, the painting is masturbating. There is one scene we got a peek at in the books, but JK wouldn't necessarily tell us what was going on. It was in the Goblet of Fire. There was a moment during the Yule Ball where we hear and sorta see two people having sex in the bushes. Now I can't remember who it was snogging and doing other things, but this totally happened. I had to read it about 8 or 9 times to be sure that was what was going on. Davies and Fleur. Never mind that Fleur was naturally enchanted to arouse the boys as part Vila. At least she was of age when she showed up. I guarantee you that the cat hair in the polyjuice potion has happened a number of times without it being an accident whatsoever. As I recall, the narration implied that Madame Pomfrey, school nurse, almost certainly knew Hermione was lying about it being a transfiguration accident and knew it was polyjuice gone wrong, but just decided not to press Hermione for the truth. Imagine how often she's dealt with polyjuice mistakes for her to react that way. Children falling off those damn handrails. Randomly moving staircases. There's no chance those things were safe for work. How Moaning Myrtle got her name. Entire castle of teenagers severely lacking in supervision and not one mention of teenage pregnancy. Either there are contraception spells or there are abortion spells. Because anyone who has been to any kind of camp as a teenager knows there is sure as shit no abstinence being practiced. Edit. Fetus deletus. Besides all the SX stuff, it seems that the Hogwarts governing board didn't give two shits about the safety of students besides considering shutting down the school when a mysterious creature was petrifying people. So some teachers were probably getting away with some shady shit. See. Snape verbally abusing students for years, Moody demonstrating unforgivable curses, and the Keros having students practice them on each other. Also, I imagine teachers were flying under the radar for things like procuring dragon scales, brewing rare potions, and transfiguring stuff into better stuff and selling all of this on the black market. Except that McGonagall would never, 'cause she's a queen. I think that would be using the room of requirement to be able to get down to some kinky stuff. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Lest we forget that its other name is the come and go room. Ever see the Easter egg on the Marauders map? There is a room in Hogwarts that literally becomes any room you need for whatever purpose you require, and it comes equipped and kitted out with everything you'll need. Any students who were into BDSM would have a ducking field day. Teachers are paying kids then making them forget. Always bothered me that there was an easy spell to make people forget things, and students wouldn't be able to do shit about it. Just how many people have been sexually assaulted and then obliviated? I don't know if I imagined it, but in the deleted scenes for Goblet of Fire, Snape takes points off of Ravenclaw and Huddlepuff for two students having sex in the carriages while talking with the other Death Eater dude. You didn't imagine it. It's in the extended version. Harry and Ron sneaking around with the invisibility cloak and seeing some titties. Pooping on the floor and vanishing it away. Want nudes of someone? All you need is a strand of their hair, Polyjuice Potion and a camera. I imagine blackmail would also be widespread as a result. Blackmail for that kind of thing would be almost impossible in the wizarding world. It's the equivalent of IRL doing a simple pencil sketch of someone and saying no, this is totally what I saw. In Wizard World, it's really easy to fake stuff and everyone knows it. So having any credibility with photo evidence would be tough. Probably one of many reasons why their justice system was also totally ducked. A NSFW that did happen was that Voldemort was effectively born of RP. I refuse to believe a castle full of teenagers aren't finding creative ways to bang each other. Well, NSFW must have been commonplace as Fred and George watched their little brother Ron sleeping with a dead wizard called Peter Pettigrew every night whilst growing up. Revenge week-long bonus spells. The house elves in the kitchen absolutely ducked. Dobby definitely blew loads in Harry's socks. Based on the "what was the scandal at your school" question a few days ago, it's likely one of the teachers had an affair with the students. There was a lot of that answer. Which teacher would have an affair, though? How many times Ron beat his meat in front of Scabbers just for it to be Peter Pettigrew? Transfiguration magic to change how your body looks. We know Eloise Midgen tried to curse pimples off her face. So other students may try to adjust body fat, muscles, the sizes of certain parts, etc. Given that some students in Transfiguration also accidentally got partially turned into badgers, Hogwarts could very easily have some students that take on the appearance of catgirls without the use of Polyjuice Potion. I'd also guess that some vile students would use the stunning spell to knock out other students to have lewd things with them while they are unconscious. Living nudes, either paintings or photos, could definitely exist. And the magical creatures. I guarantee at least one student has ordered a house elf to have sex with them. Not to mention centaurs, as they likely have horse cocks that some students might want to try. The funniest part about the centaur thing is that in the 5th book, not movie, the divination teacher was briefly replaced by a centaur who a bunch of the girls thought was really hot. There has to be at least one Zerl spell that a student learned from the forbidden section of the library. I wouldn't bring a black light into the room of requirement. Two mates getting locks of their crush's hair to make Polyjuice Potion. And then, EHM. Lots of Polyjuice Potion to have sex with someone as someone else answers. But that still requires actually having a partner. Something I'm sure most of those awkward spotty kids couldn't muster the courage for. I think it more likely they'd polyjuice themselves into their crush for a free nude show in the mirror. And then diddle themselves as their crush. Because teenage hormones. Polyjuice has got to be the kinkiest potion. It's not cheating if your partner turns into your crush. Hot for teacher. Black market celebrity hair. Museum heist for SZI historical figure hair. Switch bodies with your partner. Try another gender and sexuality at the same time with your partner. Be a catgirl catboy. Magic future. Mix two random people's hair for fun weirdness. If you can come up with a good excuse for the school nurse. Just make sure you keep track of when it wears off. That could get painful. The age of consent is most likely different in the wizarding world, so Dumbledore does say that Harry's considered a man at 17. So I refuse to believe a castle full of adolescents beyond Muggle law. One of the steps on the stairs were illusionary. You could step through it. Longbottom defo grew weed. I was in the bathroom with my wand on the toilet seat lid. I slipped on the tiles and fell on the edge of the seat but knocked the wand forward so it landed on the floor upright. Honestly, it's not what it looks like. Meanwhile, people having sex under invisibility cloak in the middle of quad lawn. Until someone walking across trips over them, exposing them. Finally. Don't know why, but the fact that everyone just walks into Hagrid's home like it's their own doesn't sit right with me. Like, how many times have people walked in on him masturbating? Either buddies taking turns taking the polyjuice potion to turn into a hot girl and bang each other. Also, Petrificus totalus. And you go to town. Where those wands been? This one time. At Hogwarts. Charm spell data pay. I mean, love potions are effectively data pay drugs. In that scene in the Deathly Hallows where everyone takes a polyjuice of Harry. The fact that girls were still allowed in boys' dormitories despite the boys not being allowed in girls' dormitories. Let me ask you, what difference will it make if you have your mind set on something? I think they had the whole teen boys are pervs attitude. The real use to the Chamber of Secrets. Many shenanigans with the invisibility cloak. Who needs vibrators when you have a golden snitch? Someone's pumpkin juice probably got spiked with a love potion at least once. Happened in the books and movies. Ron gets it in accident instead of Harry. The Imperio spell can make anyone do anything. Polyjuice prostitution. If Sirius Black ever had sex while in the dog form. The frats are co-ed, so I imagine a lot. Time turners and self-assist. I bet Hagrid's megalodon gets around. Harry got Hogwarts from Moaning Myrtle. Stop it, Ron. Stoop. Ugh, Wingardium Leviohhh Sar. IRL. There was a toy company that briefly sold a vibrating Nimbus 2000 Quidditch broom. Rita Skeeter in bug form must have seen a lot more than we were told. She proudly describes Minda paying a senile old woman in her bestseller. Using polyjuice potion to have sex with someone. Room of Requirement had definitely been a fetish dungeon more than once. A castle full of horny teenagers were without a doubt having sex with each other. I also would think that Harry definitely had sex while at Hogwarts. And not just with Ginny. Sex with the paintings. Or the ghosts. Isn't there an entire theory that Dolores Umbridge was gang-raped by the centaurs when they took her away? Given that centaurs are traditionally considered uber-horny creatures in ancient lore, it sounds definitely plausible to me. Also, the fact that the next time she makes an appearance she has a 1,000-yard stare and no visible signs of trauma. The rampant sexual abuse. The horrible hazing of the Quidditch teams. Whatever other shit goes on in the private boarding schools. Add in magic and psychopaths and you get tons of sexual humiliation as well. Hagrid taking massive diarrhea shits. We were robbed of that beauty. Poor dude probably didn't have an outhouse. Now we know why it's called the Forbidden Forest. A lack of sex education. They may call it Hogwarts, but the real horror is the genital warts. It is a school full of pubescent kids and teenagers. Float. Do the math. I'm gonna go against all the wizard sex theories and go into the underground wizard drug industry. Those kids probably got ducked right up. Tell me Voldemort wasn't getting the good shit into Hogwarts through the Room of Requirement. Everything you can imagine kids that age would do with poop if they didn't have to touch it. Okay, Hermione is super clever, but if she figured out Polyjuice potion when she was 12, then surely somebody else could have figured it out later at like 14 or 15, right? So, how many kids in Hogwarts managed to get a hair from their crush and then spent an hour staring at themselves in a mirror, naked, or doing other things? Yeah. That's some super weird consent issues. Also, teens would 100% trade bodies using Polyjuice and then duck. They don't call him Neville Longbottom for no reason. For all the people saying grab a hair from your crush, make a polyjuice potion and do the deed. Make sure they don't have pets. Fetus deletus. Erectimus enlargius ladicamus is a spell banned from Hogwarts due to being considered black magic. The show. Yes, I'm aware it was books first. The magician's whole premise would appear to be the answer to this question. Well, Ron got caught in a love spell meant for Harry is book 4 that resulted in him having his first relationship. It's supposed to be funny, but he was basically roofied for months. Cleaning that three-headed dog's tea and PSS. Well, sadly it would be pretty easy to injure someone very badly with Muffliato or any spell that immobilizes you. Like, you can torture them non-stop until you decide it's time to take them to the nursery, saying you rescued them from a giant mandragora or something, and no one would actually suspect you because that could absolutely happen. Also, the magic pictures would make good PRN. It's like a non-stop gallery of GIFs XD, and you can hide them pretty well too with a spell that makes it appear as just a normal magazine or something. Wizard alcohol drugs will be common too, especially because you can make potions in your own room. If you're careful, no one will complain and teachers won't discover you. Same with love potions. That love potion was probably used in a lot of non-consensual acts. Kinda surprised they even mentioned it, kinda like it was a funny joke to drug someone you wanted to get with. Massive amounts of tax evasion. You know, Muggle government is not collecting a dime or pence in taxes from the wizard population, despite being a constant threat and danger. I would guess a dozen or more serious injuries or student deaths each year would be a nightmare for Ofsted, UK non-ministerial educational regulatory body. Lol. Skididdle skdoodle, your DCK is now a noodle. The boys using magic to enlarge their penis size. Girls doing the same. On their boobs and butts. The only correct answer. Inappropriate charms on goats. Bunch of teenagers with nothing more than a 5th grade education with pretty much no adult supervision in the evenings. You know, Madame Pomfrey had to keep a cabinet full of abortion potions in her office. I feel like more goes on in the town than on the grounds. When I was a very horny teenager and my imagination ran wild. When I read Poa. Cocanus my anus. There's whole websites of fanfiction for this. You don't need us to get you off. OP. Filch's cat banged McGonagall and the nurse had to abort the cat babies she was carrying. There. I've said something horrible. I can call today productive. Filch's cat was female Mayo. I wonder how many Hogwarts students have tried an L for the first time in the Shrieking Shack. I shoved a wizard rod up my fat juicy ass and fired a sparkle bolt, ripping me in half and sending entrails everywhere. Places the wands could go. I'm sure you can find some fan fiction on this. I suspect most of the fan fiction is on this. They were children. Students have sex in the dorms. I don't know if this is ever mentioned in the books though. I never bothered to read them. Only in the boys' dorms. It's pretty much all they do. But in the books it's all euphemisms like time for wand practice, and my wizard hat seems to have gone all floppy. Could you help me pull it straight? I'm really curious about the SX toys in the magical world. People using the polyjuice potion to have sex with other people in their dorms. Example, Ron getting Hermione's hair and using Harry as a vessel. Like that didn't happen in the book. Dumbledore's SX dungeon that he calls the Chamber of Secrets. I saw a post once that was like, there's no way two kids never made an unbreakable vow to love each other forever. And if you're familiar with the rules, well, the rest of us Brits who are similar age as the cast of the Harry Potter films were doing copious amounts of ket pills. Harry Potter's set in the 90s. So they would have been listening to Oasis, the Spice Girls, and all the grunge bands from the States rather than dubstep. Look. I mean, there was one movie where the credits were rolling and the background was the Marauders map. There were 2 sets of feet pointing at each other in the corner of one room and making suggestive motions. Someone else had to have seen that. Wands up asses. Also moaning Myrtle was pretty sltty, you know she got down and freaky. The 11-year-old. A co-ed campus for kids just about to hit puberty. I'm sure there were a few magically aborted pregnancies. Or maybe there's a spell to stop sperm from fertilizing the egg. Spermica halticus. Giziophresicus. Wizards don't care about alcoholism. I get Dumbledore was busy. But holy shit. Trelawney is stumbling around the school in front of students absolutely plastered. And one of the house elves is trying to drink herself to death. And not one shitty is given. Wizards taking dumps on the floor and using magic to make it disappear. It's not at Hogwarts. But I always wanted a spin-off movie of Hagrid's time at Azkaban. I'm sure shitty got real. It's an English boarding school, so probably nonsing. What Dumbledore did with those Slytherin kids that got locked up in that dungeon. Probably Dumbledore's Chamber of Secrets, only to never be heard from again. Which probably would have resulted in irate said-off parents getting the school shut down for child abduction. There's a hidden joke in the Marauders map end credits of Prisoner of Azkaban where there is a set of feet spread apart while a closer together pair of feet is right in between the other 2 feet.